Hi, Ankit. So, on behalf of Association for Asian Studies, welcome to the interview series India edition.
So my name is Ankit. I am from Haryana, from rural Haryana, basically. I'm doing my PhD in sociology from University of Wroclaw in Poland. It's my third year right now. My PhD project is rather about looking at the intergenerational impact within cross-regional families. Obviously, just to add, I have done both my bachelor's and master's from India. I did bachelor's in mathematics honors from Delhi University, and then I did two masters, in fact, one regular from Ajim Premji University in Bangalore, that was in development studies, and the other with distance in social work from Bhoj University in Bhopal. Yeah. So in rural Haryana, we have these families where women have come from other parts of India, for example, eastern states, Bihar, Assam, Bengal, due to low sex ratio in rural Haryana. So such families are becoming common. So I'm looking at the intergenerational impact of women's experiences in particular, or rather the mother's experiences on experiences of children in general. So how experiences of women or mothers impact the experiences of children, because many of these women are stigmatized. These marriages are stigmatized and not socially accepted due to a dark skin or the low caste nature of these marriages and so on. So I'm looking at the experiences of children. I'm looking at the experiences of emerging adults. So those who are turning to be 18 and so on. So I am interviewing both emerging adults as well as to triangulate. I'm also interviewing local community members and other stakeholders in order to have a better information. So I'll just tell you a little story. So I was working in northeastern parts of India, particularly the state of Tripura, for 2 years. I was based there before COVID for 2 years. And whenever, so my work included going to the Gram Panchayats and working with self-help groups of women and so on. So whenever I would visit the rural parts of Tripura, I was asked, "Oh, so you are from Haryana? We have had a marriage recently here where men from Haryana came and they married Tripuri women and so on." So it was becoming very often that I was asked this question, "Oh, so you are from Haryana? We have had marriages here." And I started looking at this phenomenon about why Haryanvi men are coming to so far away. Tripura is roughly 1800s to 2000 kilometers far away. And typically traditional marriages in India take place, within cultures, within cultural boundaries or so on. So I came to know that these marriages are taking place because Haryana has a very low sex ratio, and these men cannot find women in their own parts, in their own localities, and so on. At the same time, I looked at a phenomenon of mail order brides or cross-border marriages in East Asia. So countries like Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Korea, because they have economically developed over past 30, 40 years, and due to changing societal structures and whatever, low birth rates and low sex ratio, in fact. Even in those countries, similar phenomenon is going on where women from, for example, China, Philippines, Vietnam, they marry these women from these parts because the rural men in Japan and Korea, they cannot really find women in their own localities. So a very similar phenomenon that is also going on in East Asia in many different countries. So I was motivated enough to, look into the experiences of children, because that's where the actual research gap now lies on and so on. In fact, this was one of the questions that I was asked during my interview for getting admission for PhD in Poland. Why not studying it in India and in Poland? I myself come from rural Haryana, and this phenomenon is based or is about that locality itself. I'm not sure whether I would have got fresh perspectives to look at the same phenomenon if I was working within India. Although I do not doubt the qualifications or the kind of research that people in India take about, but because this phenomenon was so locally situated, that I wanted to get out of that to look at it from a broader sort of perspective. And coming to Poland, one of the main reasons was that sociology in Poland is rather very advanced in a way that a lot of focus is being put on the theoretical perspectives. I believe, because I've done masters in India, I believe a lot of empirical emphasis is given in India than linking our empirical research to theory. But in Poland, it's the other way around. First, we have to work out within the theoretical frameworks because it's a field of sociology, and then look at the empirical research to link that with the theory. So it's the other way around here in Poland. All across the world, there are cross-cultural, cross-regional, cross-border, transnational, inter-ethnic, interracial, whatever you name it. These marriages are common all across the world. So it's not that people in Poland find it, very amusing that, oh, such marriages are. No, it's very common to find such marriages. But how family dynamics or how society changing and so on is rather interesting to look at. Uh, just to summarize, if I had worked it from India, I would not might have got a fresh perspective to look at it, because people in India already have their own assumptions, maybe their own ideas about why people are motivated enough to marry in such a way. Who are these women who come from eastern parts of India to Haryana and so on? And I'm not sure whether there would be enough theoretical emphasis given on this particular phenomenon if I was back in India. So interestingly, I mean, because in rural Haryana, at least, I'm not sure about other parts. In rural Haryana, at least, people or communities in general are not really aware of sociological research, or people coming as researchers to them getting information about something. It's not so common. Even PhD for these people is rather about doing work in maybe laboratories, or doing some sort of experiments, getting some new information outside of the society lens. And a local Haryanvi doing a sociological research on a local Haryanvi topic was something very not so familiar to either to the village leaders, even to the families, or to whoever, even to the government officers that work at both the block and the district level. So it was very difficult in getting access to these people first, and then second to make them trust me as a researcher, that I will use this information only for the research purposes and not for anything else. A woman who worked as my field assistant to help me enter several families, because being a man, being a young man, going into the families is also very challenging, because you cannot really talk to the women who are married and who are 24, 25, 6 years of age. What if the husbands get to know about it? What if the other community members get to know about it? What are you talking about? And so on. So I had to take that help, and I also had to change my methods completely. So initially, I had only planned for qualitative research, only interviews with family members and so on. But ultimately, I had to do a mixed methods research where I also had to collect quantitative data about families, number of children, their occupation, the caste of the family, where from the woman is, and so on. Because I have interests which are into Asian studies, so I taught a course to master students, which was which was titled as gender equity, diversity, and inclusion. But what it was about is that it had a collection of short films, documentaries, feature films which are from South Asia, in particular from India and Bangladesh. For example, the Malayalam movie The Great Indian Kitchen, or the films that do talk about gender equity, in general, and diversity, which about transgenders, about minorities, particularly from South Asia. And then we discussed about those films and short documentaries in our class about what do people, because in our class mostly students were from European countries, so it was rather a very first sort of experience for them to see something from South Asia, but they were all able to relate to the issues that these short films or documentaries were talking about, because they are all across sort of the world. So it was rather a very stimulating sort of conversations that we had, about why countries in South Asia are so patriarchal, and how they can change, or maybe how they are changing, or about what are some of the learnings for students from those films and so on. It was rather fascinating for these students that, oh, so these films are, you claim these films are from India and Bangladesh, but we hear different languages.
Hmm.
All these films are in different languages. Yes, because that's how diverse India is, if you talk about linguistically, religiously, and so on. Even when I proposed this course and we had discussions early on, everyone was thinking, oh, there would be films from Korea, Japan, all these Philippines and so on, but rather films coming from South Asia. It was rather not so common here to have that sort of perspective. And yes, South Asian perspective is rather, I don't know, underrepresented maybe. I usually go to the website of Association for Asian Studies, to because there are new articles that are put up on education in us. Yeah,
Yeah.
like there is something, that column.
Yes.
Yeah, so there are many articles that are there already about cross-border, cross-cultural marriages,
Hmm.
or how societies in Japan and Korea are changing and so on. So I really go there, and I also look at the information about new conferences and so on. So that's very nice, and I'm glad to be a member of this institution. Wonderful. I hope to take participation in one of the conferences, because usually they take place in the United States. Although there is a component in Asia, I think this time it's in Indonesia.
Thank you so much for all your information and sharing so much of your work with us. This is very interesting, and we'll stay connected. And those
For sure. Thank you so much.
you
Thank you
are.
for your time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Okay, bye.